to discuss this is Professor of Politics at the University of Strathclyde, John Curtice. John, always good to see you and get your thoughts on this sort of thing. No sackings today then, but lots of changes. Sir Keir really making a lot of noise on the first day back.
Yes, Sir Keir clearly wants us to remind us that the Labour Party are hoping to form the next government in around 12 months' time, and he has reshuffled his pack with a view perhaps to trying to persuade voters not only that perhaps they should distrust the Conservatives, which is certainly a mood that's widely to be found in the electorate at the moment, but that also they should be enthused about the prospect of a Labour government, the potential ingredient for a Labour success that so far at least largely seems to be missing. I think I'd probably pick out a couple of re-entries to the shadow cabinet in today's list as perhaps indicative that Sir Keir at least has now gained the confidence of many in his party as at least potentially being able to win the next election, and therefore perhaps it's worth serving in the shadow cabinet because it might lead to a government post. One is Liz Kendall deciding being brought back into the shadow cabinet as shadow work and pension secretary. And of course, that's an area where Sir Keir's recent decision to keep the two-child limit, at least for the time being, in the payment of universal credit has caused a degree of controversy. Meanwhile, Hilary Benn, who faithfully served as shadow foreign secretary under Jeremy Corbyn for a while, he's now come back as Northern Ireland secretary. Of course, a lot of the tension, as you already indicated by the fact that Angela Rayner has now been given a substantive role as well as shadowing the cabinet office as she was doing before. I suspect Sir Keir is hoping that somebody who has a fairly clear working class appeal and working class background will indeed strengthen Labour's appeal in a department where, as it were, can we reconnect with the Red Wall is undoubtedly going to be an agenda for the Labour Party at the next election.
Yeah, very interesting. One disgruntled insider told our deputy political editor, Sam Coates, that these changes are nothing less than a final factional takeover of the right of the party. I mean, is that overstating it, or is there some truth in that?
Yeah, I think the honest truth is we are now looking at a Labour shadow cabinet. It is pretty firmly on the centre right of the party, and there really isn't now, but there wasn't really before today, very much in the way of a significant left presence. Sir Keir has sufficient authority now as leader, with an 18-point lead in the opinion polls, to be able to choose the shadow cabinet he wants. He's now in a very different position from where he was a couple of years ago when he tried to reshuffle the pack, had a row with Angela Rayner and ended up not being able to do very much at all. At that stage, when he just lost the Hartlepool by-election, Labour was falling back in the opinion polls. Leaders are always much more powerful when they're well ahead in the opinion polls. And Sir Keir finds himself in that position. And almost inevitably there, anybody who wants to be in government and who Sir Keir wants to have in government, they are now likely to be in Sir Keir's shadow team. Normally being a shadow spokesman is a fairly thankless task, and those who've been doing it during the last 13 years will testify to that. But now being in a Labour shadow cabinet opens up the prospect, perhaps, of a ministerial mondeo in 12 months' time.
Indeed. And what about the timing of this, John? It comes, of course, after Rishi Sunak had that smaller reshuffle. But many are saying this is sort of 6 months too late. He would have been better off doing this some time ago.
Well, you can argue about whether it's better to do this kind of reshuffle at the end of the beginning of the summer and give people time to read themselves in, or to do it at the beginning of the new autumn session. He's decided to do it now. I suspect Labour would argue in response to your question, at least Sir Keir has been willing and able to significantly reshuffle his pack in expectation of election in 12 months' time, and that perhaps is a reasonable timing, whereas the Prime Minister seems to be betting on being able to reshuffle his pack more significantly in 6 months' time, when perhaps some people may feel for a party that's still a very long way behind in the opinion polls, all of that is rather too late. Of course, at the end of the day, we have to remember here most voters do not know the names of junior cabinet ministers, let alone the names of more junior shadow cabinet ministers. What in the end will matter is the extent to which this shadow cabinet team articulate a vision for the kind of Britain that they want, are able to agree on that, and are able to promote it collectively. It's the collective performance of this team that will matter, rather than the ups and downs of the individuals, such as, for example, the evident devotion of Lisa Nandy.
Yes, you make a very good point there about people not necessarily knowing many of the names and faces. But talk to me about rising stars in the Labour Party. I'm thinking particularly of Darren Jones. He's been promoted. He's been recently praised, hasn't he, especially for his communication skills.
Yes, indeed. That perhaps is the one person who's got the most significant promotion. Mahmood also seems to have got a promotion for having been in charge to getting the party machine going, and is now Shadow Justice Secretary. So there are rewards for those who have served. But for the most part, I've already said Liz Kendall back in, Hilary Benn back in. We're seeing somebody like Mr. McFadden, a long-standing party apparatchik, served under Tony Blair, now again clearly given a role that's designed to try and make sure the party is in a fit state for a general election. This is, I think, more a shadow cabinet of insiders with an already established reputation, rather than a shadow cabinet where a reshuffle where Sir Keir has taken a significant opportunity to bring new faces to the front bench. Arguably, it's getting rather late to bring new faces to the front bench anyway. It's got to be at this stage people who are tried and tested politicians.
We always love to get your insight. Thanks once again, John Curtice, Professor of Politics at the University of Strathclyde.